If I tell you to leave me alone, and you leave me alone, you're legit dead to me.
I think this gentleman should consider himself to be extremely lucky, because there are some women out there that do have this type of mentality. They don't want men to necessarily listen to the words that they say. They want them to glean the hidden meaning behind it all, and then do what they secretly want, but won't say.
Like, I can't believe you can do that. That's crazy.
Yeah, heaven forbid a man actually does what a woman says that she wants him to do. That's crazy.
Like, I was legit talking to a guy, and I said, I don't think we should speak anymore. He goes, okay, haven't heard from him in 5 days. Wow, that was too easy.
See, what they really wanted was for that guy to chase after them so that that little game that they were playing could continue.
The fact that your life just went on like that, like I was nothing.
I mean, that'll happen. A lot of guys, when they figure out that a woman is playing games, will absolutely be more than pleased to leave them alone.
Honestly, how is a man gonna have time for this foolishness? I have to go to work. I don't have time to sit up here and play these little stupid mind games with you.
Men, why are you so dramatic and emotional?
Oh dear.
Oh my god, you guys are like PMSing or something.
Is this the voice of experience speaking?
I know damn well you are not canceling this freaking girl because she posted a video saying when it's time to be silent or give a moment of silence for Men's Mental Health Month, and it's like woo woo.
Oh, I get it. Someone else thought it was funny too, and is actually offended that people were offended.
And everybody's acting like she killed somebody.
Now who's being overdramatic?
People are like, someone probably committed because of that video.
I mean, it is possible after all, but I highly doubt that they want to think about that.
Do you understand that how many men with mics talk about how they don't give a shit about women's feelings, how they don't give a shit about women's mental health, how they don't give a shit about postpartum depression, they don't give a shit about any of that.
So the obvious solution, in apparently some women's minds, is to reciprocate bad behavior with more bad behavior.
You guys are just like absolutely crazy to me.
I believe that.
Like, instead of trying to cancel this woman because she made a freaking TikTok video, let's start with the men with freaking mics who continue the narrative against women every single day.
How about, instead of trying to cancel someone, actually learn to have a civil, adult conversation? That would be a good first start.
Men make more false allegations than women.
Well, if nothing else, this should be interesting.
I see men on this app constantly making false allegations of silence to push a point.
Let's be very clear here. They are actually stating that men who are making accusations of assault are making it up.
And I've never seen a woman do that. Men also will say that they've been falsely accused of SA when in reality, they did it.
So when it comes to men and SA, they are automatically guilty. There's no innocent until proven guilty. But if a man says something about a woman doing it, they're lying.
And we know that the majority of the time when a woman says something happened to them, it's true. When it comes to SA, men love to lie and say that they didn't do it and blame the actions solely on the woman, when in reality, you did it and you are right now making a false accusation against the woman, stating that she falsely accused you.
Circular logic is always the most fun to try to follow, isn't it?
And I'm sorry, but you're gonna start needing to provide proof that you were falsely accused. Because if I have to provide proof that I was assaulted, you need to provide proof that you were truly falsely accused before I can believe you.
It is entirely possible they've never actually heard of why there is this thing called the burden of proof. Nor have they apparently heard how difficult it actually is to prove a negative.
Let's hear it for the band of the year.
When precisely was the exact moment when the expression of hatred and bigotry towards a group of people became something that was considered to be, if not socially acceptable, at least very well liked by a large number of people? And if anyone doubts that, just look at the number of likes that a certain video has received thus far. And unfortunately, because this type of behavior is being encouraged, we will only see more of these types of posts and these types of messages, because there are a lot of individuals out there that want to get that type of validation. They want to have the likes and the views, so they're going to post this type of bigoted message so that they can get that notoriety and that popularity And they're expressing bigotry simply because they want to be popular for it. There used to be a time that was frowned upon. But now, as long as it's only against men, that's perfectly fine. We are certainly going backwards.
Men's mental health,
I find that rather hard to believe, especially since someone took the time to make a video.
I'm tired of hearing all this men suffer in silence. What they don't? They don't! Women suffer in silence. Men suffer in violence.
What exactly does that mean?
If it's that or he's angry, he gonna let a woman know. He gonna beat the ass.
Unfortunately, there are many instances which that is sadly the case. And there is never an excuse for abuse, whether it be physical or verbal. And that it goes for men as well as women. But do bear in mind that the majority of men are not abusive.
He's gonna make sure she hears it. Go to therapy. Shut the fuck.
Again, there has never been a reasonable excuse from any person for domestic abuse. That is something that should be reported immediately to the police. However, telling someone to go to therapy and then shut up, that's not really encouraging anyone to get better. That's encouraging them to continue to suffer in silence.
They keep on sending out the worst soldiers. The worst ones. They will not send out good soldiers. Again, where is the committee that is allowing these soldiers to come out to the battlefield and get slaughtered immediately?
Men have taken the very serious issue of mental health and have personalized it just to them.
It's almost like mental health is a personal thing. But go on.
Men are not the only ones who struggle with mental health issues.
And now we're stating the obvious. For what reason?
In fact, it doesn't even predominantly affect men. Women struggle with a variety of different mental health struggles as well. And why do we have a designated Men's Mental Health Month, but we don't have a designated Women's Mental Health Month?
Oh, that's just awkward. Because it's almost like if a person had actually taken 10 seconds to look something up, they would actually have discovered that Women's Mental Health Awareness Month actually occurs in May.
It's because men wanted to capitalize on something because they're not generally oppressed in our society because they're men.
Oh, here we go.
And so they took mental health as an opportunity to make it seem like they are facing similar levels of oppression.
I still have yet to hear how any modern woman in the Western world is actually oppressed. I won't hold my breath.
Because if it's one thing about the modern man, they love a victim complex. They love to play victim.
Ironically, that statement is coming from someone who is trying to convince others that they're oppressed.
I am all for the recognition of mental health, but you have to ask yourself why the men wanted to separate the issue to seem like they're the only ones affected by mental health. So happy Mental Health Month to everyone who struggles.
Yes, indeed. And I would like to take this opportunity to encourage everyone to always research things before posting about them.
If a guy is liking my Instagram story, it's immediately over.
Wait, what? Could someone explain this to me? Why exactly would it be immediately over if a guy likes their Instagram story? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I get the ick. I think it comes off as very immature.
Okay.
Like, if you're liking my Instagram story, you're probably liking every other girl's Instagram story. You know what I mean?
So let me get this straight. They would rather the guy not like their Instagram story because they want to feel special, because they don't feel special if the guy likes their Instagram story because he's most likely liking every other girl's story. Is anybody else confused?
So, like, I don't know. I don't like it. I'm not a fan.
So then don't post an Instagram story. But then how would they get attention? Oh. But remember, gentlemen, there are women out there that will only like you if you absolutely pretend to ignore them and don't give them any positive attention. This is confusing.
Men have always been the problem and still is today.
Are they now? Okay.
All the destruction and chaos in the world come from a man.
So it's always men, is it? Not mankind. Because I've noticed that women are conveniently absent from these discussions, like they have no responsibility or culpability for any of the things that have ever gone wrong in this world. I just find that highly convenient.
Lying, cheating men.
I mean, the same could be said of a lot of women out there, but why do they keep leaving women out of these particular conversations? It's almost as if some out there seem to believe that women have no ability to affect the goings-on in the world, which is absolutely not the case, especially now. But why do they keep leaving women out?
It's not that we bashing y'all. Y'all just don't know what to do. Y'all don't have no self-control.
If that wasn't bashing, well, then I certainly don't know what is. But I really do want an answer. Why do so many women leave women out of these conversations? If anyone ever actually needed proof that beauty is only skin deep, let's look at that post again. It's almost a pity that a lot of individuals' personalities weren't reflected more in their outward appearance. I imagine they would be a lot less popular if that was the case. But just remember, looks can be deceiving, and just because someone looks nice doesn't mean they are.
The problem I have with the Man of the Year trend is that it gives men an excuse to be like, I'm a good guy. Not like one of those assholes.
I don't know what's funnier. The fact that someone actually believes that a lot of men are even watching videos that are specifically tailored towards women that like to make fun of men, because no, self-respecting men aren't watching those. Or two, the fact that they actually go so far as to think that they know what the majority of men who actually do watch those videos would be thinking.
Like, it just lowers the bar for them. It was already too low. This continues to lower it.
The irony of someone talking about lowering the bar of what is considered to be acceptable behavior, meanwhile, talking with food in one's mouth.
As men thinking that they're way the fuck here because they're not saying piss poor women.
Calling out bad behavior does not lower the bar unless someone doesn't understand that bad behavior is bad behavior. That doesn't necessarily elevate those that don't do it to a higher level. But then again, most of these videos are targeted towards women, and common sense isn't common anymore. So, I mean, consider the audience.
Y'all know, y'all create a trend. A man looks at it and says, that doesn't look like me, so I'm not offended. And because a man is not offended, or because a man distances himself from foolishness, y'all say, well, it's actually working in the man's favor. What do we do now? The trend is actually helping them. We keep telling you that men, as hunters, know how to adapt. If I'm looking at your strategy and I say, well, you know what? That ain't me. So there's nothing that I have to worry about. I'm going to go this direction. You do this, I'm going to pivot this way. You do that, I'm going to pivot that way. It's called a game plan. It's why coaches and players get paid so much, because they're able to think on the fly and do things differently to be successful. You guys, y'all are like villains. Y'all just keep on trying to find ways to set up obstacles in a man's way, and he continues to find ways around it, over it, and sometimes through it. You guys are losers, man. Like, the mindset that y'all have is really like a loser mentality.
The problem I have with the Man of the Year trend is that it gives men an excuse to be like, I'm a good guy. Not like one of those assholes.
I don't know what's funnier. The fact that someone actually believes that a lot of men are even watching videos that are specifically tailored towards women that like to make fun of men, because no, self-respecting men aren't watching those. Or two, the fact that they actually go so far as to think that they know what the majority of men who actually do watch those videos would be thinking.
Like, it just lowers the bar for them. It was already too low. This continues to lower it.
The irony of someone talking about lowering the bar of what is considered to be acceptable behavior, meanwhile, talking with food in one's mouth.
As men thinking that they're way the fuck here because they're not saying piss poor women.
Calling out bad behavior does not lower the bar unless someone doesn't understand that bad behavior is bad behavior. That doesn't necessarily elevate those that don't do it to a higher level. But then again, most of these videos are targeted towards women, and common sense isn't common anymore. So, I mean, consider the audience.
You cannot convince me that men who treat their wives or girlfriends like are not secretly gay.
That's because it's often an exercise in futility to try to convince someone against their own opinion.
Men who cheat on their wives and girlfriends, secretly gay.
Why does it sound like they're trying to insinuate something here?
Men who love women don't treat women this way. Men who love women treat them with respect and kindness.
That's partially true. Men who love women and have respect for women and respect for themselves don't treat women that way. However, that does not make them gay. And someone saying so is rather implying that there's something wrong with being gay. And I would really not like to think that someone was saying that.
So men who don't act this way treat women with disrespect meet a man, and they're angry because they won't just come out. They'll just come out. Come on, Chad. Happy Pride Month.
It's almost like they really didn't think that statement through, or else they're really just showing how intolerant they actually are. Was that supposed to be a post on how to create more misogyny, or is that simply a post for female validation? It's rather hard to tell. Well, no. If that was a demonstration on how not to be classy, I would say they absolutely nailed it. But that's not the best, or I should say, worst part of it. Let's take a look at the most liked comment on that video. That's right. Over 27,000 likes where it says, "Stop birthing your oppressors." Now, I've said this before, but I have yet to actually hear from any woman in the Western world, which is obviously where this video was taken, how exactly they are oppressed. And that honestly also says a lot about the women that think that they're giving birth to their oppressors, because they're taking part in raising some of these men, so one should think. So if they think they're oppressed, when are they actually going to take some accountability of how they raise their oppressors? Or is that something that they're not going to want to address because that would mean some personal accountability?
My hot take is that men should start life in jail and earn their way out.
Quick question. Who exactly is going to be enforcing that? Just curious.
Now, men are useless because men are useless. And did you know that men are useless because men are useless?
Spoiler alert. Now let me save everyone about a minute of your time that you're never going to get back if you actually watch that video, because all that a certain individual says for the whole video is that men are useless. They don't try to make any valid points. They don't try to make any arguments trying to justify their position. All they state over and over again is that men are useless. And I would go so far as to say that any video that is made like that with that type of narrative is not just useless, but it is also pointless, because the only type of people that are going to actually like it or encourage more videos like that to be made are those that seem to lack a certain level or any level of rational thinking, because most individuals are aware that no population of human beings is useless, and making stuff like that is just perpetuating misandry and bigotry, and that needs to stop.
If women are drafted to the military, I am most excited to see the confrontation between commanding officers and the girls.
Between commanding officers and the girls? Oh dear.
Think we're gonna let you yell at us? You think we're gonna do something without a please and thank you?
Please allow me to introduce a little reality into this situation, because personnel in the military are under legal obligation to follow all lawful orders that they are given. And a please and a thank you are not required.
We've all had controlling ex-boyfriends. We know not to put up with that.
It's almost as if they're not understanding that it's not just men that are in positions of authority in the military.
Like, let's sit down and have a conversation about what you want and what I want, and we'll reach a happy medium. Because there's no way I'm doing what you want when you use that tone with me. You think you can push us around like you do with these men? Think again, baby. You're gonna learn some manners.
And I think one would learn very quickly that having a bad attitude and obvious problems with people in positions of authority wouldn't get one very far. But most importantly, the Uniform Code of Military Justice doesn't play.
This is how you know too many women have too much confidence. Y'all talk so much trash. Nobody has really shown y'all that there are consequences to your stupidity.
I have a question. Where are all the good men at?
Have you checked your friend zone?
And I am being so serious right now.
So am I.
I am being for real. I want to know where the good men are at.
Well, quite a lot of them are already in relationships. And if they're not, they're most likely just not interested in dating, because look at the dating pool right now. Can you tell me there's a lot to be interested in?
if you're someone who dates men and also hates men, I feel like those things are at conflict.
You think?
To heal from it, I want to move on, but I feel like where I'm lacking and where we are lacking societally is just having these positive examples of men being good, men being safe, men being trustworthy. So if you have examples of this, I want to know about it. Please share about it.
Maybe open your eyes and realize that good men are actually everywhere, and they far outnumber the bad men. I know that goes contrary to what a lot of individuals out there say, that it's all men, but good men are actually everywhere. If you get out of your echo chamber once in a while, you'd know that.
Men, if you're seeing this, please chime in, please pipe in. Like, are we safe with you? How can we feel safe with you? How can we stop carrying around this hate for men?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe the first step would be stop hating people for something about themselves that they can't control. That would probably be a good first step.
I actually have really horrible news to share.
And what would that be?
Women don't need men to make babies.
That's going to come as a great shock to a great many people. And just imagine the surprise in the scientific community.
We just need a fridge.
At this time, I would like to point out that it's actually a very, very cold freezer, not a fridge. And just where exactly do they think they're going to get the material to put in it? Where's that coming from, I wonder?
Every single day, sperm is reproduced, meaning one man could impregnate 30 women in 1 month.
Wait a minute, I thought they didn't need men. Oh well, I guess those silly little facts got in the way of that fantasy.
Do you see what I'm saying here?
So far what I'm seeing is that they're saying they know absolutely nothing about genetics, let alone biology.
So with a few industrial fridges and with a few gay men, women would be solid. Solid, okay?
I would like to point out that gay men are still men. Therefore, their entire argument falls apart, because they do actually need men.
Men who are secure don't get upset when women say all men.
Oh, interesting strategy. Anyone else see what they're doing?
Emotionally regulated men don't get upset when women say all men.
Do you get it yet?
Because we understand why they would say that.
Oh, I absolutely understand why a lot of women, as well as men, would say that, because they're speaking from a place of emotion, not rationale and logic.
No one is criticizing masculinity. What they are criticizing are men who don't understand why women would say all men.
Personally, I tend to criticize those things that I find to be illogical. And saying something is true about an entire group of people when it's only some members of that group doing it is highly illogical, even bigoted.
Men have always dominated society. And for women to say all men, we understand that it is not an attack against all men. It is a plea that men understand where they are coming from.
Believe it or not, I think a lot of women out there would have a lot more luck if they actually put forth their arguments in a rational manner instead of relying on emotional pleas.
Don't you think that they should use their communication skills that they say that they have a little bit better, though? I mean, if you're so good at communication, don't you think that you should say what you mean and then actually mean what you say? Like, there's no hidden meaning behind it. There's no reading in between the lines. There's nothing for people to figure out. That's an effective communicator, which a lot of these women are saying that they are.
All men cheat. Every single one of them.
No, they actually don't. But I wonder if we use the same logic against women and generalize them like we generalize men. Since a lot of women also cheat, we could say the same that all women cheat, right? Oh, but that probably wouldn't go over very well.
Any woman who cannot accept that, any woman and even man who is still walking around here saying, not all men, they're dumb, they're stupid, they're developmentally delayed.
Actually, those particular descriptions would not apply to those that think rationally. Instead, I can think of those of whom that description would be much more fitting.
If women sit here and accept the fact that all men cheat, you're not all that special, you're not all that great, she is no longer going to have a sense of worthiness, a sense of validation, because her whole identity is rooted in if a man is going to stay faithful to her or not.
This might come as a complete shock, but there are some things that I think some out there need to hear. Not only do not all men cheat, but not every woman places all of their value on whether a man chooses to be with them or not. There is more to life than being in a relationship.
Who needs an enemy when you have a man by your side?
I think the question that a lot of us need to start asking is if so many women are convinced that men actually hate them, which they don't, why are so many women choosing to still be with men? It doesn't make a lot of sense, does it?
You don't. You really don't. It's right there with you, sleeping with you every night.
If a person really feels that way about their partner, then they should not be in a relationship.
Are you going to find that out when you have arguments with them? Hear me out.
All right, let's hear more.
How your man treats you when you're having a conflict with him tells a lot about him and how he feels about you. Guess what? Most men suck at having conflicts.
And honestly, so do a lot of women. But that's another discussion for another time.
He tries so hard to make you feel down, to humiliate you, to humble you, mess up with your mind, and mess up with your self-esteem.
Most men don't actually do that. However, unfortunately, there are some men that do. Just as there are some women that do that to men and to other women. But if a person is in a bad relationship, do yourself a favor and get out of that relationship.
Oh my god, you guys, we can't trust the nerdy men either. Yeah, do you think we just say it's all men for no reason?
No, it's not for no reason, but it definitely seems that a lot of those that say all men just seem to want to display their irrationality and their propensity to be bigoted.
This is what we mean when we say all men. Being a misogynistic loser can take any shape or form inside of a man's body.
And willful ignorance can take any form.
Reality is we say all men because it genuinely is all men.
Except it's not. But there are those out there that seem to think if they keep saying something, not only will more people believe them, but that their statements will somehow become true.
We say all men because women need to be treating every gun like it is loaded.
Let's hear it for another logical fallacy, the false equivalence.
Part of me saying all of this is that no matter how a guy presents himself to you, you do not know who he is until you've been around him for years.
It's really handy that social media has allowed so many women, though, to be able to show themselves for who they are. That way no one has to waste years.
Dress like a trophy, act like a trophy, talk like a trophy.
But a trophy is an object. They're wanting women to dress like objects, act like objects, and think of themselves like objects. But I imagine some of those women who do those things would complain if they actually get treated like an object.
Make sure every hair is in place. Make sure makeup is on point. Make sure your clothes is cute. Accessories. Walk. Have confidence. Smile.
It's because being the prettiest object is the most important.
Whatever room you walk into, people are going to see you.
What I've noticed a lot of is in these particular types of conversations, there is a lot of focus on attracting a man's attention, being the object of desire. However, what is not talked about is what they are going to do to actually keep the man interested and have a productive relationship. Because looks fade. What are a lot of these women going to do that portray themselves as these trophies once they're no longer in their prime? Because it happens to everyone, like it or not.
If I tell you to leave me alone, and you leave me alone, you're legit dead to me.
I think this gentleman should consider himself to be extremely lucky, because there are some women out there that do have this type of mentality. They don't want men to necessarily listen to the words that they say. They want them to glean the hidden meaning behind it all, and then do what they secretly want, but won't say.
Like, I can't believe you can do that. That's crazy.
Yeah, heaven forbid a man actually does what a woman says that she wants him to do. That's crazy.
Like, I was legit talking to a guy, and I said, I don't think we should speak anymore. He goes, okay, haven't heard from him in 5 days. Wow, that was too easy.
See, what they really wanted was for that guy to chase after them so that that little game that they were playing could continue.
The fact that your life just went on like that, like I was nothing?
I mean, that'll happen. A lot of guys, when they figure out that a woman is playing games, will absolutely be more than pleased to leave them alone.
Can we please, bring back men coming up to us?
I mean, we could, but that would actually mean that most men would have to find most women, approachable. But also bear in mind that a lot of women have told men to completely leave them alone.
Why are you so scared? Why are you so scared of coming up to us?
I don't think that particular tactic is going to work anymore.
Like, genuinely, I don't, like, I get it, like, rejection, okay, I get it.
I highly doubt that, especially since the majority of women don't believe in approaching men in the first place.
However, if you go up to a girl in a nice way, I don't think you can fail.
Spoken like someone who has truly never actually listened to the average man's experiences when it comes to approaching women.
Well, why can't you just go up to her, just say something nice, compliment her, and then ask her for her number? That's it. Please?
If it was really that easy, yeah, I think a lot more men would do it. Actually, if it was that easy, then women would do it.
Can I say something? If you have to say it's really not that bad, if that's your selling point, it ain't that bad when you approach this. Why is it a continually bad experience in the first place? Why is it a terrible experience in the first place? Let's start there.
This get what I want when I'm dating because I train men like dogs.
Obvious puns aside, let's just get into it.
There's 3 things you can do to train a man like a dog. Number 1, and the most important to me, is give him tasks to complete.
Yeah, believe it or not, there are some women out there that actually believe that men need to be trained.
Whatever problem you have, if he can fix it, he can progress with you. If he can't, or he says no, he's a little bit away and you don't want a failure in your life.
Yeah, we're just gonna leave that one alone.
2 is positive reinforcement. Just like dogs, men need positive reinforcement to reward them.
Do you think they could dehumanize men a bit more if they tried harder?
Whatever it is that he's done, show him appreciation, thank him. Use your words, use a smile, be kind, be nice. Your energy is so important, and that's what he wants to take from you, your energy.
I would like to point out that a person's energy and the words coming out of their mouth are obviously not necessarily reflections of their personality.
Number 3, have clear boundaries. If he's disrespected you, if he's not paying you attention, if he's doing things that you don't like, withdraw your attention, withdraw your time, your availability, you're gone.
On that part, we can actually agree. Clear boundaries in relationships are very important. So if anyone, whether it be a man or a woman, senses that their partner is trying to train them to try to be a certain way in a relationship, as if they were a dog, it's time to run.
You notice that the men who have money never have a problem with the women who like material things?
Well, let's think about this rationally for a moment. A lot of the men that have excess money, and by excess I mean more money than they necessarily need to get by on a daily or yearly basis and don't have to live paycheck to paycheck, a lot of times probably don't worry about having to budget down to the last penny. So spending money on incidentals or things that don't necessarily matter that much really isn't that big of a deal.
But the men that don't have money make it a huge issue.
Might that be because a lot of men out there actually have to live within their means and cannot justify spending money on things that a woman just wants because they want it? They actually have to worry about spending their money on things that are valuable and meaningful and that they need in life.
Is that a coincidence?
What is not a coincidence is that is spoken like someone who's never actually had to be careful with their finances. Otherwise, they would understand why some men are careful with what they spend.